Hello and welcome to another video from the Fantasy Legion. I've got Sean back with me again, and we're part two of your story really that you weren't overly keen on sharing, but I thought it was quite interesting. When I've heard bits of it in the past, and
yeah, thanks.
Looking at part one, people really took to it and they want to see part two. So let's just. If you haven't seen part one, before we start, if you haven't seen part one, obviously I'll leave a link in the description. Go back and start there, and then come back to this. You basically come in at QB5 now. So he's already got 4 QBs. You're QB5, and you just want to address a few of the questions from the first video.
Yeah. Well, a couple of questions came out. The first one is a bit about how big I was as a person. Well, I'm 6'1", and I've always been a beanpole. So basically, I'm 9.5 to 10.5 stone, depending on time of the year and what I've eaten. Really, to be honest with you, so I've never been much bigger than that. And you've got to remember that although that's not what you're looking for out of your quarterback, they were talking about the late 80s in the UK. We're not prototypical people. We come from all walks of life. And a lot of the stories that come out in that time period, which are a lot of fun, if you ever get a chance to dig into some of the history of the game over here in the UK, people come from all walks of life, and they were completely not right for the American football. Boy, there were some great players that came out of that time period here, and some tough son of a guns, I'll tell you. So well worth researching. But also another question that came out very quickly from the first video is about the coach, Bubba Franks. Now, people refer to him in some quite colourful language, but in truthfulness, Bubba was, in my mind, really clever. We talked off camera about this, me and Al, and the thing I liked about Bubba, and it's the thing that really shows, is actually he did care about his players. Now, you might not think that, but you've got to think, if he put me in, I'm a 6'1" looking beanpole, and I get hurt in that very first practice, first play, I may never come back, but I might still have had something to offer the team, whatever it was. But I would never come back because I was hurt straight away. So he tried to protect me. He tried to see what toughness, mental toughness I had. I mean, he knew that I wanted to play quarterback, but probably thought that was a joke. And rightly stuck me the furthest away. And that was part of his routine. He'd done it before with other players. But most of them never came back. So, I mean, were they right for the game? Probably not. So it was tough. And it did take a bit of luck, but once you get your opportunity, once you've got your foot through the door, at least you're training with the team. And that's all I wanted, was that opportunity, and that's where this part starts.
Okay, so there's 4 guys ahead of you, isn't there? Do you just want to explain quickly who they were?
Yeah, well, very, very, very quickly. I mean, obviously, we're about 3 months out from actually starting, proper American football, first division American football. Not going in the short end, going up against the big league here. But there should be no fear because we're fifth quarterback. But within a month of starting, we had a couple of things that happened. The first thing was our main quarterback, Tony Hubbard. He got injured. And I think he would have had an ACL tear as you look at it today.
And
his father.
He was from California, wasn't he? So he wasn't even British.
Yeah, California, blonde-haired guy, really big, 6'4", brought up on the game. His father was an American Armed Forces vet who also played American football, and he was over here to keep his arm in before going back over. Once his father's tour had finished here, he was going to go back over about a year or so later. So it's just a very easy way for. Our coach was American. He probably had a contact with him, and so he had a good quarterback effectively. Yeah. But Tony got injured, and the thing I loved about Tony, he didn't have to come to any of the training practice after he was injured, but he still came every week to support all the team, and eventually, particularly myself, I always found I got on very well with him. But he was a really very good guy to talk to, and after he got injured, particularly with me, he seemed to spend. Like he said to me, I think you got a chance you can crack the top list here if you just keep going. And he was very helpful to me. So I never forgot that. And then our second string guy, ironically enough, also got injured in a freak accident. Not in football, he broke his leg. I think he had a car accident, something happened to him, and he had a car accident, if I remember right. He wasn't driving, but he was injured as a passenger, and he broke his leg. So I don't know what happened to him in the end, because I lost touch with him completely. So in essence, now we've got...
So by just through injury, you're sort of up to 3 on the depth chart, because obviously...
Yeah, but we're in a camp. Now we're in a camp battle, because in truthfulness, the third string guy, frankly, for me, I just always felt he didn't know the playbook. He never thought he was going to get in anyway. And he was there to pick up chicks. That's how he was. I thought that was quite funny. He always said that. I was only here.
He always said that.
It was one of the funniest lines. And then the fourth string guy, he had glasses. Yeah, it was so hilarious. And the fourth string guy, he didn't have the arm, he didn't have mobility, he didn't have the wherewithal, but he had like this physical skill set where he looked the part, but he didn't have any of the skills. So it's actually quite funny.
No, it's you,
so
a 6'1" beanpole. So
I'm a 6'1" beanpole. I'm not your prototypical quarterback. So anyway, we're now in a bit of a camp battle, and everybody's now looking at the quarterbacks because people are getting worried. You're hearing the first string guys. You can imagine, can't you? You hear it.
yeah.
Who's going to be our quarterback? Which one do you like the best? Surely they're not going to put the beanpole in. So you hear all these things. So while I've been involved with the team, only a short period of time, 6 weeks probably at this stage, properly 6 weeks.
I've been with them on the sidelines as well.
But I've been observed while I was there 5 weeks. I observed a lot because I was at the far edge of the field. I saw a lot of plays going in. I saw a lot of practice. I was observing, and then those 6 weeks I was with the team, I'd started to notice some things. I noticed that our first string and second string quarterback, before they got injured, there was one player for me who really stood out as a wide receiver, just didn't get used. Now, he didn't get used because he was 5'8". He didn't have much speed. He couldn't jump, and you'd think all those things combined, no wonder he didn't get used. There was something that coaches and everybody had missed, which I could see from the sideline. So there came a point when we're in this middle of this camp battle and things are getting a bit pressurised and people are saying, shouldn't we become more of a run-first team? There's nothing worse to a quarterback than hearing the team say, let's not just have one running back. No, let's have 3 running backs. Let's go to a wishbone offence. I didn't like that at all. So anyway, I talked to the coach, Bubba, and I said, look, coach, I think that we're missing a trick here. So he said, well, what do you mean? I said, look, we're in the middle of this camp battle. I said, look, if I can show you something that shows you that you're missing something as a coach, what would you say? And he said, well, firstly, I don't miss anything. I said, well, I think you have, yeah. So he said, all right. He said, what have you got in mind? I said, look, you tell the defense the play we're going to put in. You tell them who the ball's going to. So there's no doubt it's going there. And you watch something and see what you think. And he went, okay, what's your idea? Who have you got here? Is it going to be Peter? Is it going to be Joe? Who's going to be the guy? Which of my main receivers do you want to put into this play? I said, none of those guys. I want Adrian Carl. I want Flypaper. He said, what are you calling him Flypaper for? And at which point, Adrian looked over and he looked at me and he went, Flypaper. I said, that's going to be your new nickname after this play. So he looked at me and he went, oh, I love that name. So he goes out to run this route and he's up against every corner and safety because the defense know what's coming. And he goes off and runs this pattern. It's a very simple thing. It's basically a 20-yard pattern, 20 yards and in pattern. Very simple. Defense can crowd the middle of the field. Basically, it should be impossible for this guy to get the ball. And you know what? I throw the ball into him. I mean, I throw a great ball, if I'm honest. I put a brilliant ball in, perfectly structured, lead foot, everything's right. I put the ball in there, and I deliberately put it in a position where I know that anybody watching is going to think, that's it, play's done. He's not going to get that ball. It's over. Even it's not a great throw. And you see about 9 people converging on this ball and this little guy, right? Because he is little compared to everybody else. And when it's all said and done, the only person that's disappearing off into the distance is old Flypaper for a touchdown through a crowd of players, weaving his way to the end zone. He spikes the ball. He comes back to the coach with the ball after he spiked it, hands it to him and says, why didn't you do that for me for the last 2 years? I've been telling you I'm good. So, and then all the builds from that. It's
not only your story, it's almost his as well, because he's sort of been buried on the depth chart as well. And they've underused it.
So then the coach says to me, well, that could be a fluke. And I said, well, let's run it again. And you know what? We had the same result 2 times in a row. So what they then
tell you to throw him like the worst possible balls ever. They tried all sorts with him. They said, put a ball up over his head, put a ball off to the side, put a ball where he's got to dive out of bounds to catch it. The amazing thing with Adrian, and I call him Flypaper, it's the easiest thing. I never like to call him AG was his nickname for me, but out of the game. But Flypaper is the nickname he got, and it's the nickname that's stuck in the league. Anything I threw to him, it didn't matter what the window was, it didn't matter how tight the coverage was, it didn't matter how high, how low, how difficult, whether it was a crowded end zone, anything. I don't remember him dropping a ball in 2 years of playing with him. He never dropped anything. He was just amazing. get this.
Amazing
You
player.
come in as quarterback 5. You're now in a camp battle. You've put the 2 first choice wide receivers nose out of joint by bringing in a 5'8" guy to be that you've got the chemistry with.
And it was instant chemistry as well. It's like that classic thing about both players know what each other's going to do. And so we were able to show, like, we ran the same play twice and he got the same result. We ran everything the coach asked, whether it was a ridiculously bad ball or anything else. And then the coach said to me, can you run a play with him without telling him what you're going to do? And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? And he said, well, go to the huddle, don't call a play, and we'll just assume it's standard blocking assignments. Adrian, run whatever pattern you want to run. Sean, you adapt to the pattern. So it's like street ball.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I could do that. I'm used to that. That's how that's what I cut my teeth on, car parks. So that suited me down to the ground. So I gave him a little nod. They all knew it was coming. And once again, he comes down with a ball. And then we started developing little techniques which were hilarious. So there was a key game. I'll save it for that game. But there was a key moment in the game, which is completely illegal. I've got to tell you, it's an illegal move, but it's brilliant, really. Where I said to him, the thing is, people have started giving him, as we play together, I've got to explain this, because it's worth knowing here at this stage, because it will mean more later. When we got into the season, people would give him very quickly. He was so dangerous. People would give him, literally, he was one of those receivers, not because of height, not because of speed, not anything. They'd give him 10 yards. Give him 10 yards because he was that dangerous. And they would try to double up and man him so that they would try and tackle him, stop him short of the first down, but try their best to do that. So we came up with strategies. One of them, what I called the injury technique, which was, the idea of it was simple. Run half a game, and then at some point during that game, he would say, oh, God, cramping up in that leg again. Jesus, I think it's my thighs gone. And then the next play, look really weak, not able to run any pattern, like he's given up on the game. But the play after that, go deep. It used to work every time. So he was a brilliant player. He was a fabulous player, just simply because of the gift of coming down with the ball. And for me, in the camp battle that we were in, the emergence of it was, I'd now won over a guy that was going to be my rock that I wanted. I had a running back that had, the running back even had trust issues, which I quickly dispelled. So this is another story for another time. But the running back had some trust issues with the previous quarterback because his problem was the previous quarterback's technique for handing the ball off. He didn't like. It was very traditional. So I developed what I called the shotgun snap. And this is not the shotgun snap where the ball is snapped back to the quarterback, but it's the ability, which you've seen me do, throw the ball quick. So you've got the ball in your hand and throwing it into your other hand really fast. So from when you're turning, as you throw that ball into your other hand, the defense can only see you about to hand the ball off, but actually you've got it in your other hand. And as you make your turn, you can either make it look like you're handing off, or you can hide it behind your back and roll out and then throw a pass to the running back in the flat or a wide receiver, or what you want to do. So we developed that for the running back as part of my emergence within the game because it brought confidence to him. So he always had that extra yard, extra step, and extra ability. He always believed he was better under the quarterback playing under center than he was if he had to step, playing in this kind of 7 quarterback step drop or handoff. He never felt very comfortable taking the ball that far back. He always felt he never had a chance to show.
Before he starts gaining them.
Yeah, he didn't like it. So I worked this out with him pretty quick, and we changed to make it more fun and palatable for him. He was a good player, Craig, but he wasn't, again, not the fastest. So this helped him, gave him confidence. And I guess the part of that shotgun snap is, it's a little bit like the modern RPOs. Obviously not run as well as that, but it was our version back in the late 80s and 90s to keep the defenses honest from not knowing if you've handed off or not. And it was a skill I had. I had a good skill for hiding the ball. So if you've got it, use it, So then we're at a point now where this, sorry.
Yeah, so we got to find out how the camp battle went and what sort of tipped the scale in your favour, really. So what happened next?
Yeah, well, so I think the turning points were winning over a wide receiver you had confidence in. The other wide receivers, they realised that they'd been usurped, but they wanted to play on a good team. We had a great reputation as a team, the Capitals, that we were an up and coming team. We were a good team, and they were good players. And they were good players. It's just that I needed something else that they didn't have, and this guy did. They were all good. They all had their route to play. But, you know, it's like anything in a team. We're a team. And you've got to know what to do to get players away from other players to make the most amount of uses of the space. So I think the main reason that I won the camp battle really comes down to 3 factors. The first one was understanding the playbook inside and out, and the ability to adapt audibles and cadences as required that all the team could understand really quickly. And I was able to put that across to the coach, who accepted it. This is a great strength of Bubba's. Listening to what your new number one is going to tell you and adapting your team accordingly. Now, the camp battle was not decided until the final week before we start. But we had won the battle purely because perseverance, emergence, ability to spot other players' talents, make the coach appreciate the differences that you brought to the game. We were never going to be your mobile quarterback. But I think, again, you've seen a bit of this. It's not about, I always say, it's not about mobility to be able to stretch the plays out and run out. And I'm never going to do that. I'm 6'1".
You are quicker than you look. I mean,
yeah,
I played a little bit against you. You were pretty fast.
But I like the ability to read the defense. I was very good at body language. So my ability to see who I believe was going to come a blitz was very accurate. The ability to roll away from the blitz to buy that extra yard or extra step. And then know that if that player's coming, he's either leaving his man unmarked or more likely open. Or if he's got support from a safety, then I can be looking elsewhere. And that can all be decided before the pre-snap, which is a great strength to have. And when you put me up against, you know, he was only here for chicks and everything else, the reality was I was the best that they had. And perhaps, and I felt this a little bit even when we went into the beginning of the season, maybe I was all they had. And that was also a bit of a worry as we went into the season, because I felt, you know, as you start the season off, there's nothing worse than people not 100% believing you, because you've got to remember at this stage, you might have won a camp battle, but you've really won nothing yet.
Yeah, well,
you know,
yeah.
So
exactly. Now the hard work starts. So,
you know, so that that's only just begun. So you've only got. The fact is, you're leading a team onto the field, and I don't think anyone would have believed that 3 months earlier. Certainly not my mum, who thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life.
it's good to
who
have
thought
support.
I shouldn't be out there. You know, she didn't think I should be out there, but she never wanted to come and watch a game.
Probably scared to watch it, you know.
So that was quite funny. So it was good.
Okay, so shall we do a part 3 then, and then?
Yeah, absolutely.
We know you've won the battle, but there's a dominant team in your league, isn't there? They were head and shoulders above everyone.
Yeah, Ravens during that time period. London Ravens only lost, you know, a handful of games over the years. I think it's something ridiculous. I was looking back at their record a few weeks back, and I think they played during that time period something like 125 games, only having lost 25.
Yeah, so that's how they were a very dominant team.
You know,
you've got to play them twice in a season. Is that correct?
Yeah, to play them twice, and then we played them a third time because
no spoilers, Sean. No spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, we won't go any further with it. But yeah, we played them twice a year traditionally because we weren't expected to make the playoffs.
Okay, well, you know, if you want to see part 3, or you want to know any questions, ask Sean anything.
Yeah, thanks for letting us take a trip down memory lane. And thanks very much.
Maybe you want to know if that guy did get chicks. I mean, I do. I mean, did it work? I mean,
It certainly did. He certainly had them. It certainly did work for him, I say. But he was gorgeous.
So, you know, he did all right for himself.
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about the people you were taking out, you know, snapping people's ACLs, cutting their brake cables, you know, taking them out.
You've got to do anything that's necessary to break into a team. You know, I just felt. I mean, Tony, though, to his credit, it's well worth knowing this. He was brilliant. I mean, how about that? You know, he didn't have to come along to these UK scrimmages. In fact, they were well beneath him. I mean, he played at college level, so he was bloody good. But he kept coming every week just so that he could help and guide. But he said to me, as soon as his leg went, he said to me, "I believe you could be the guy." And that was before the second string guy went down. He said, "I believe you could do it." And he said, you're one of the more gifted players I've seen in the UK. It's just you don't realise it. And I said, well, I'm not really that good. He said, well, you've taught yourself how to throw the ball. You've taught yourself not only how to throw it, but you're reading defences. You've got a handle on the playbook, a playbook my father wrote that your coach uses. He said, where'd you get that from? I said, I don't really know. I said, look, I'll be honest with you, Tony. I'm not naturally, you know this is true. I mean, I'm not. There are certain things I'm very weak at. I have to really ask 3 times, 4 times, which sounds awful, but it's true. But once I know something, I know it, and I'm very good at. I don't need to ask again. And for some reason, a bit like Latin, I've never understood. Latin and me, we're good friends. which makes no sense being dyslexic. It's like a playbook. The pictures mean a lot. I can see a picture in a playbook and go, yeah, I know what that's meant to mean and what's supposed to happen and what would be the right call here and how to call it. So even when they're lining up, and again, this is only, I can only go through the small things we've shared together. I mean, you've probably seen it, and some of our Discord friends, when we've gone to games and I've gone, oh, this is what's about to happen in the play here. And then people will look up at the screen and that is what happens in that play. Yeah. Exactly.
You can actually
it's uncannily scary.
And call the play before they do it. Yeah, it's quite. He's definitely for doing that.
And then there's other parts which again are small, but mean a lot and probably show a little bit in the background and worth knowing at the end of the video as well. Is little things like, and it's a small thing, but as a quarterback is a real gift. When New England were losing to Atlanta in the Super Bowl final, as an example, everybody in the room we're in, there were thousands of people, said, game's dead, boys, it's over. And they were all shouting out. And I said, it ain't over yet. This is New England. And I'm telling you, first score, they'll get a score back in this, and this game is not finished. And the reason was, it wasn't blind optimism. You could just sense that's what Tom Brady was doing on the sides. You just knew that, you could see it in his eye. I could tell he was not done.
Yeah.
And, there are players who are done when the chips are down. And that this is another quality that I had was, no matter what happened in a game, no matter how bad the start, it wasn't just blind optimism. It was things that you could say and then they would happen. Now, if you can do that, you build so much confidence around your team and your teammates when you're able to go, tell you what, this is a touchdown. We play it this, if we do this, it's guaranteed a touchdown. And people would look at you and go, but when we're 99 yards out, what do you mean it's a touchdown? I say, listen, you break that hole as drawn up by the coach. We're putting this one in, And so you're almost telling them, if you don't put it in, it's your problem. And it amazing how many times things would work in your favour as a quarterback. But you have to know that it's the right play at the right time and have the ability to change the play if required. And that takes confidence that you've got a game for your coach. My coach was very much anti allowing any UK quarterback what cadence is, calling your own plays. Nah. So I'll save that for video 3 and how he realised that the best thing he could ever do is hand the offence on the field over to me and then make sure, I ran his plays. That's the one thing I always did. I didn't change your plays. I adapted some, and sometimes I would go schoolyard on you because it was the right thing to do, but he understood that. So there you go.
Okay. Well, if you've enjoyed part 2, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to support us. And we'll probably see you in part 3 as we'll actually find out how Sean got on when he actually got the starting job. A UK quarterback, eh? I mean, beggars belief, to be honest. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.